Hello, my friends. Sean here with Manly Made Minute, and welcome back to another episode of Monday Moments, where I share tips, tricks, and helpful hints. Today is all about a product that I wanted to share with you because I hear time and time again that I'm scared of watercolor. I don't know how to watercolor. It's too complicated. It scares me. And I love to watercolor. I'm not a trained watercolorist. I'm not a trained artist, but I love to watercolor, and I just get tips and tricks and techniques and stuff from watching other people. So this is about an easy, simple product to get started into watercolor, and that is the Brutus Monroe Aqua Pigments, because they're not scary. They're incredibly forgiving and easy to use with different techniques that I'm going to share with you today. So what I want to do is go over just about 3 or 4 techniques of how to use these so you can see how that product manipulates in different forms, whether it be just coloring a nice little floral, doing a little mixed media, doing some wet stuff on watercolored paper, just to show you this is the perfect product to get started with and just start playing, and don't be afraid of trying techniques or just starting with simple coloring and going from there. Okay? Before I head down to my table cam, don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button. Would love to have you follow me here on YouTube and Instagram under Manly Made Minute. I share card hops. I share design team stuff. I go live. I have guests, all kinds of stuff. So would love to have you follow along. Let's get started. Let's have some fun watercoloring, and hopefully this encourages you just to try some simple product and give it a try. All right. I pulled out some watercolors here for you, and I have a whole slew of them, and I will show you when we go back up. Let me just go back up to my face cam here really quick. If you look at, if I can figure out direction, right here is all my watercolor from Brutus Monroe. These are aqua color pigments. So a ton of colors to choose from. What I've done is I picked out some of my favorites that I like to use. These are some of my newer favorites: blue, green, and Mad Cup Tea Affair, fuchsia, and actually turquoise. Turquoise should be over here, and these two should be over here. These are some of my new favorites to watercolor with, and then just showing you there's a whole rainbow of colors, right? So we're going to just probably stick in this range today, but I'm going to pull these over to do some florals with. So let me just show you really quick on a floral. I have stamped and embossed. I've used the penny embossing powder from Brutus Monroe. Nice copper penny kind of color. All right. I'm going to slightly wet one flower and then not wet the other, so you can see the difference on how this goes on. I'm going to zoom in because I think it's going to be beneficial just to really see this nice and close up for you. And I'm going to just pull this in so you can kind of see my little water cup. I'm getting my brush wet, and then I'm just pulling off some of this water so it stays wet but not sopping wet and dripping. And I'm just going to paint this water in on my floral. I'm using Canson XL watercolor paper, one of my favorites, one of the most forgiving papers that I use for watercolor for me personally as a beginning watercolorist. I still consider myself beginner. Okay, I'm going to try this Mad Cup Tea Affair. I have a glass mat. I use this as my little palette, if you will, because it wipes off super easy. Now I'm just going to pull in a little color on the tip of my brush, and I'm going to just start at the base, and I'm tapping this in. And because this is wet now, the paper, you can see how that blooms out, right? Super easy. I mean, little to no technique. Now, if I wanted to keep this and just soften this out, I'm going to re-wet and then just kind of pull that color towards the tip. You can see this is so forgiving. It still moves after I let it sit there for a little bit, right? I'm just re-wetting and reactivating that product and then softening it out. Softening out those lines, essentially, right? You could use a different color and blend into the tips with a different color. I just want to show you basic technique here today. Not shading, not any of the hardcore kind of stuff. Just basic with this product. And still get great results. Now that I've got it re-wet, I'm going to just dab a little bit more and then just darken that middle a tiny bit. I'm letting the water and the product do all the blooming and the work for me. That's it. I'm going to leave that one. Now I'm going to take, and I rinsed off my brush, drying it off, and now I'm just going to go, get my tip here better. I'm just going to go on to dry, no water over here, and I'm just going to apply this dry. This is going to be more like painting and no blooming because I don't have the water to work with. I could soften this. Now if I just take and wet my brush, dampen it, I dried that off, and I'm just going to pull on that product a little bit, and I can get the same technique, similar look. Little tougher to work with. It's a little less forgiving because it doesn't bloom naturally. But again, use it to practice. If you just want to color, if you just want to, I just want a simple color, then just color this in. I'm going to color all this in just to show you now. I can just take this product and move it around. If you're a beginner at this, I also highly encourage you to heat emboss your stamp set because that acts as a little wall to create this from bleeding out. All right, so those are my two different techniques, wet to dry. Now I'm going to show you another one on this one. I'm going to go wet again, and we're going to use those two colors on this one. I'm going to go with my Madcup Tea Affair, and then I'm going to add some fuchsia on these tips. So I'm getting this wet. If you look at this from the side, it's kind of hard to see on the camera, but you can see I got a little pool of water going. That's what I want. I don't want a big pool. If you get too big of a pool, take your dry brush and kind of sop it up like a mop. All right, I'm going to grab my fuchsia, and I'm going to use fuchsia and Madcup Affair. Okay, starting with my Madcup Tea Affair, and I'm going to put this down here and let this water and product do all the work for me. If you're not getting enough blooming, you don't have enough water. Practice makes perfect. How much water, Sean? Practice makes perfect. You gotta play and figure out. It's gonna be how much your technique, how heavy-handed you are, how much water you put down, how much product you put down. All kinds of different factors in there. You just have to play, and that's the fun part about this. I want you just to play. Now I'm taking the fuchsia, and I grabbed just a little too much on that, and I am starting on the tip, and I'm working that down. If you have too much, take a little, dry off that brush a little bit, sop it up. Putting this fuchsia right here on the tip, and then I just blend those two together. I'm using similar colors just because I'm suggesting this as a beginner to get used to your product, the blending, the shading, the pulling color off. Because watercolor, if you make a mistake, if I re-wet this, I can pull product off and kind of start over, essentially, right? I'm going to throw that product back down on here a little bit now. And that's it. Two shades. Now, depending on the shades, this teacup's a little on the brown side, but I just wanted kind of that maroony, pinky kind of color just to kind of show you. I could go back on this one. I like how that fades out, but there's two colors for you. Now, I'm going to take one of my favorites for leaves and greenery. I'm just giving you some favorites and suggestions here if you're going to purchase some of these. Is the yellow-green. I like a little yellow in my leaves. Then the green for my leaves. Okay, so now if I was to take and wet this down, I 80% of the time work wet versus just dry because I like to have that natural bloom and things. Okay, now I'm going to take my yellow-green, throw my yellow-green on, then I'm going to take my green, And throw a little green on there. And get some kind of colors going here. Maybe go around the edge. Now I'm going to just take and clean my brush off, pull that water off of it. And then I'm just going to kind of blend and pull these together. That's all I would do. That is it, you guys. How easy is that? All right? Here's how to do a floral, embossed, more painting, more artistic-y kind of stuff. Now I'm going to zoom back out so you can get big picture on my next couple of techniques. All right, Sean, you say, I love that technique, but now I want to do some backgrounds. I like mixed media. I like different kind of stuff, right? I got you covered. Okay, I'm just using samples of my Canson XL just for samples to show you. Okay, one thing I like about these is that they come in droppers, which for me gives me another option on technique. And let me show you. I have Canson XL watercolor paper, just water. Wetting this down pretty good. It's pooling really good on my paper. I got to use my favorite turquoise. So now I'm going to take my turquoise. I'm going to just make sure I got a little bit of color in the dropper. Very gently, lightly squeeze a little drop out. You don't need a full-on gloppy drop. You can if that's the look you're going for, but I'm just getting a little bit of color and let that fall. Check this product and look at that move. Okay, now I'm going to pull in, let's do some fuchsia. So I think fuchsia and turquoise kind of makes a nice little lavender. Okay, same thing, little product in there. Lightly get one drop to fall for me. Do another little drop over here. Let's get another little turquoise in there. So now I'm just getting a nice little blendy, bloomy kind of mixed media background. Now, want this to bloom a little more? Spray that out and let that move and run and play. All right, there's one technique for you. Next one, I like to ink splatter. Sean, can I ink splatter with this? You bet you can. I'm going to re-wet this down. I'm just going to take some, let's do some red. I'm just going to take a little bit of red. I'm going to take the red, I'm going to throw it down here on my glass mat just as my little working surface. I'm going to take a fan brush. Nice little cheapo fan brush that I used to ink splatter. I'm going to get it good and wet because I need this to flick off my brush. Get that so it's not dripping wet, but it's wet. I'm going to dab this in. Did I spray that? I did spray that. And splatter. Okay. There's one color. Let's get just a little bit of, let's do a little blue-green on there. Okay, my working surface. I'm going to wet this down. And splatter. Okay? Great. Next technique. Now, I want to practice brushing this on, Sean, and I want to do some backgrounds. I saw Ardith on the Card Summit this past weekend do some really cool backgrounds. Can I just brush this on? Well, of course you can. Let me show you. I'm grabbing more of a mop-style brush. I'm just using a thinner one so I get some thin lines here just to show you. But I'm going to grab, let me just do some violet. We haven't used the violet yet. Okay. Throw this down on my work surface. I like the brushes or the droppers too because then I can kind of control my product usage. These last you quite a while. Okay, I'm going to wet this down. I'm going to just wet, but I'm not going to wet my... I'll get much more blooming, but I just want to show you how this looks going on dry with a nice wet brush. Loading this up with good amount of product. And I'm just painting this on. I'm showing you this just to show you reaction of product. Okay, wet this back again. Get my blue in there. How fun. How fun is that? All right. Let's just grab these. I'm going to dry these up a little bit so you can kind of see these dried up. That's my floral. You can kind of see our two little difference of colors. Now this is going to change, obviously. If I use a nice pink and a purple or a blue or a turquoise in there, you'd see that more. My Mad Cup is just a little on the brown side for these florals. I use the yellow, green, and the green for the leaf. But these are fun aqua pigments, very forgiving. They are a liquid. If you're seeing me drop them out, they are a liquid form aqua pigment, water reactive. And there you have Brutus Monroe Aqua Pigments on different ways that you can use these. All right, let's go back up. I know this was a little bit longer for my normal tips and tricks kind of video, but I think it was worth it just to kind of show you different ways to use this product because I think it's worth just kind of seeing how the product reacts and moves. For a beginner, you really truly can't go wrong. I will put links to this stuff below. Just know that I am a Brutus Monroe design team member, so I will put my affiliate link. I do get a little kickback from that, which is much appreciated, but does not cost you anything extra. However, I just wanted to show you an easy product for watercolor because I hear over and over, I don't like it, it's hard, I'm not good at it. These are great products to practice with, and they're really fun to use. So hopefully this was a good tips, tricks, and helpful hint for you this week. I thank you so much for hanging with me. And until next time, I'll see you then.